joined by Congressman Jimmy Gomez, who came up yesterday. He represents neighborhoods in Los Angeles, and he wanted to talk about a very important issue that is going on right now across the country, which is healthcare and the benefits of healthcare and the potential threat to those benefits, given recent legislation passes and future ones as well. Congressman, did you enjoy your time here? First of all, we'll start with that.
Oh yeah, no, I've definitely enjoyed my time. I've been in Bakersfield before, and being back with some of my old friends from my assembly days, it was good to see them. But I was there to really deliver a message and to get people organized.
How important is it, I guess, reaching the people face to face? Because obviously we'll do this interview and more people will see it, but I guess to actually be in the room with people that the representation here looks a little bit different than in Los Angeles and in your neighborhood.
Yeah, no, it's great to be face to face because that's when you really get a sense of people's either frustration, their anger, their hopes, their fears, and being there and listening to people directly, and especially when it comes to all different walks of life from the Central Valley, it tells us what people are thinking, and I appreciate it because it gets out of my own area. Right, we often hear people from your own district and that's our number one job. But when we pass a law, when we vote on something, it impacts the not only our district but the entire country, including the Central Valley.
And I know on this issue, it's tough for you being in the minority in Congress. So I imagine that's why you also kind of wanted to voice, hey, this is what's going on. You might not necessarily hear about it, but this is something that's an important issue to discuss. And were you able to have that dialogue that you were hoping for out here?
I did, because one of the things I wanted to make very clear is that Republicans are putting forward a plan to gut Medicaid, and 67% of the people in Valadeo's district, 30% of the people in Vince Vaughn's district are going to lose health care because they're going to cut Medicaid. And I tried to explain why, when they say that's not what they voted for, why that was just nonsense, because the math is the math. The committee that's responsible for Medicaid, that is the Energy and Commerce Committee. They got an instruction to cut $880 billion over the next 10 years. And the non-Medicaid, non-Medicare spending is only $200 billion. So even if they cut every single program that's not associated with Medicaid or Medicare, eventually they still have to find $680 billion worth of cuts. And it's going to go towards Medicaid. And David Valadeo and Vince Vaughn have a vote. They can vote no or they can vote yes. And we're hoping that especially David Valadeo listens to his district and what it's going to mean to working people, to seniors, to disabled, to kids who are in the foster care system. And that's what we wanted to talk to them about, because David Valadeo can make a difference, can hopefully turn this around, but we need him to step up and fight for his district.
And that's an important point about coming in and having those conversations, because right now a lot of Republicans are taking heat for not having those town halls, and some that have
Yes.
been having town halls have been receiving quite a bit of criticism. Why is it important for you as a member of the other party, and again, someone coming up from a different area of California, to have that conversation where Republicans have been lacking in those town hall conversations?
I think it's important is because we need to convey that we're fighting for every single community in the country, if we represent them or not. When we're trying to make sure that these cuts don't go through, is because what happens in the Central Valley matters to the people in Los Angeles, including myself. I grew up without health insurance. I know what it's like to rely on the emergency room, what it means to get sick, and the stresses that it puts on a parent. I'm a new dad, and the most important thing for me is how do we keep my child, my son Hodge, healthy, and how do we make sure that he has the health care he needs. I say that that's the same kind of care that any parent has. And when the kid gets sick, you're no longer a Democrat or Republican. You're just a dad or a mom trying to make sure that your kid is okay. So I want to have those conversations and to send that message out, but also to let people know that other folks are thinking about it. Even if David Valadeo or Vince Vaughn won't have a town hall to take their questions about why they're supporting such devastating cuts.
And then I'll pose their argument, which you touched upon a little bit too, when it goes to the math, which their argument is we're looking for fraud. That's what Donald Trump's been looking for. That's what Doge is there for. That's what Republicans were asked to do, which is the cutback. And your response to that would be,
It's complete nonsense. Here's the thing. There is some fraud, and we have to root that out. I'm a big supporter of making government more efficient and making things work, because I know that people lose faith in government, then we can't continue these kind of programs. So we're for that. But the cuts that they're seeking through the budget reconciliation is not to make government more efficient. It's to actually give tax breaks to billionaires and largest corporations in the country. That's what it's about. I'm on the tax committee, and they're instructed to cut taxes for corporations, bring it down even further from 21% or to lower, and then also give big tax cuts for the wealthiest individuals. It doesn't pay for itself. It doesn't create economic activity, and it's going to make the deficit worse. That's why Tom Massey, the Republican from Kentucky, has voted no, because he knows that their math doesn't work.
and he's been consistent on that for some time. Last few questions for you, if I might. Another question that I'm sure the Republicans would probably pose to you would be: you have your own district. Why not go down there when you have your time off for your time away from Washington D.C.? Why is it so important to get up here?
Well, I do have a lot of events in my district. I actually held a neighborhood town hall in Boyle Heights. I do Congress on your doorstep. That means I go door to door, knock on people's doors, and have a conversation with them. So they don't have to come to me. I go to them. We had telephone town halls. And then next week, I'll be having a Social Security and Medicaid town hall next Friday. And then after that, we're going to do a massive LA-wide town hall. Anybody and everybody is welcome to attend. So I do that in my district. But here's the thing. I'm voting no on this budget reconciliation. And if we can't get David Valadao to have the same kind of courage that John McCain did when he voted down the repealing the Affordable Care Act, millions of people are going to lose their health care. And here's the thing. When it comes to the Valley, this one I want to be very clear. For every dollar in Medicaid funding you lose, you're actually losing $2 to $3 in economic activity. You're going to have longer wait times. You're going to lose rural hospitals. People are going to get sicker, and people are going to die because they're going to either not see the doctor when they need to see him to prevent something serious from occurring, or they're going to cut their insulin in half. They're not going to take it as often. Maybe children with asthma are not going to seek the medical attention that they need. So what happens there in the Central Valley matters to the people of California. The Central Valley is the breadbox of the United States. So we want people to be healthy in the Central Valley.
And last couple ones for you here. For people who maybe, I'm sure you would love even more phone calls for your district, but just other ways to reach out. How do you encourage people in the Central Valley who maybe want to hear what you have to say more or less? And then, folks that were intrigued by the town hall or this conversation,
Yeah.
what are good resources for them in a time like this?
One, I do a lot of videos on my social media accounts at Rep Jimmy Gomez on Instagram, and also at Rep at Jimmy Gomez CA in my personal account. I talk about tariffs. I give a real explanation that I'm not against. Good example. I'm not against all tariffs. I'm against dumb tariffs, and the tariffs that Trump is imposing are hurting the people of the Central Valley and hurting people no matter where they live. So if people want to get more information about what I think about these different Doge policies, Trump tariff policies, they can follow me on my social media accounts. And also my town halls, telephone town halls are open to anyone if they dial in.
And final question, a bit of a tongue-in-cheek one. Ro Khanna is also making an appearance down here in Kern County this coming weekend. Any advice for him when he comes down here to talk with the folks in this area?
I think he needs to just understand that these are working class folks. These are people that went to a community college just like I did, work any kind of job to make ends meet, and that we need to make sure that we're fighting for them, taking on the establishment, taking on the billionaires, and making sure that we can save the benefits that they earned and deserve.
Well, Congressman Gomez, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you jumping in before the weekend and spending some extra time here in Kern County.
Thank you so much.